Franciscan blessings to your heart. My name is Brother Sean, and I am a contemplative Franciscan monk living in a monastery without walls from our own little monastery here in Cumbria in northern England. Something strange happened to me 12 years ago this coming April. I was at a wedding of a family member in Florence. And out of the blue at 3 a.m. on the 11th of April, I had a rude awakening. Something was saying to me, take the first train out of Florence for Assisi. And I thought, why? I've never been to Assisi. I'd heard that it had something to do with St. Francis of Assisi, but I was quite happy just being with family and friends, celebrating the joy of having attended a family wedding in the Mayor's Palace in the town centre of Florence, a beautiful city. But Brother Rob came with me and we took the 3.5-hour journey from Florence down to Assisi. And when we got there, you could say that my heart was led to a stairwell, taking you down into the bowels of the basilica. And there I found a rather strange-looking sarcophagus elevated on a high altar in the most beautiful, intimate little chapel. And I discovered it was the remains of St. Francis of Assisi, who lived in the 12th century and who established the Franciscan order. But I'm thinking, what's this got to do with me? I don't want to be a Franciscan. I just want to live a simple life in service to God, bearing in mind I was ordained a nursing monk in 1968, December the 8th, 68, having completed my monastic training on an island in Southern Ireland. But as I knelt at the tomb of Francis, I became aware of Christ. I became aware of what my heart was receiving. That Jesus had founded a new community called the Teo community of Interfaith Franciscans, and I thought, oh, hello, what's this got to do with me? And then it became evidently clear that Jesus wanted me to nurture it, not to found it. He founded the community with St. Francis of Assisi. And it was to welcome the children of God whom he would send to us and act like a spiritual midwife to embrace God in every individual that would apply to join the Teo community. So you could say that the Teo community is Christ's community. And it's not Christian, it's not Hindu, it's not Buddhist. It's an interspiritual community where the children of God from all faiths, color, creed, ethnicity, and lifestyle choice come, having listened to their heart, to give their life to their God for unity and peace, where there is no dogma, no conversion, or no hidden agenda. And to live that simple life of hiddenness from your own home, your monastery without walls. And over the past 12 years, many have come and gone. Many have found what they were looking for and went on to live a very simple life as a hermit from their own home. And the community, though we don't have a physical structure in terms of a mother house as yet, we meet regularly online on YouTube and Facebook morning and evening and at night for prayer from all parts of the world where we have members: South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, England, Ireland, Wales, Scotland, Europe, and different parts of America and Canada. And each one of us have come with an open heart, not to be brainwashed or to brainwash others or convert them. And originally, the Teo community consisted of a core group, one of which was myself, from the Catholic Christian tradition, who had a desire to unite children of God from different faiths, to come and break bread together in love, as Christ did, as Francis did with the Sultan when he went to see the Sultan on his way to Jerusalem as the Pope's representative. Many traditionalists in their own faith struggle with the community because they have difficulty accepting other beliefs. I know within my own Catholic Church, one does give lip service of tolerance, but behind the scenes, there's an unwillingness to embrace other faiths because they have it in their mindset that there is only one God, which is true, but that God has only one name, which Christ made clear to my heart, that he has many names. And whilst I'm not here to score points with the church or religion, the Teo community doesn't represent any religion. It encompasses all beliefs out of love and respect. We leave the dogma and dotting the I's and stroking the T's to God. Our ministry is to live the simple life, like Francis, to go about God's work, bringing love, peace, and joy. Recently, I asked a member in our community, Sister Jackie, to contact someone in Europe who was interested or appears interested in joining the community. The Lord guided my heart to ask Sister Jackie to befriend this beautiful person. And in front of me on my screen is some of that response, which my heart is guiding me to share with you. Sister Jackie said that Jesus called 12 main ones, and many followers followed him as well. He had many women close to him who followed him and helped the community of the 12. He showed us that we must live in love with the other, and that God does not want us to be alone and to be on a lonely, unknown path. Yes, I lived in a monastic setting for many years, but I wasn't a happy bunny. I was deeply unhappy because you lose your sense of individuality. You are no longer a human being with a personality. You become a number. We dressed the same, we looked the same, we prayed the same. We were all like spiritual robots. But this is what Jackie says. We are meant to be as joyful as Christians and non-Christians, not to be always serious and solemn, which I was, but to sing and dance and rejoice always. And this was what our dear St. Francis taught his followers. This is why he was so loved by all, even non-Christians. Organized religious groups, unfortunately, often do not always have real communities. People can pray next to each other for years in a church, as I did in a monastic setting, and not even know each other's name, or their struggles, or their hearts. there was a fear of getting too close. But Sister Jackie said the Teo community is an opportunity to join other loving souls in our journey to our Father, Mother, God, with people who seek good from all religions. She says, I believe in today's global culture where we are all being connected to each other, whether we like it or not, we need to develop a new consciousness that understands that God does not just love one group of people, but all people and all creation. And I have to admit, in the past 12 years of following Francis, I have come to love this man. His love of finding God in creation, in everything that lives and moves, and in the animal kingdom, God's little messengers. And it's also given me a hunger, a spiritual hunger, to want to understand and pray with other beliefs, and to allow them share their wisdom, their knowledge of the same God, albeit by a different name. Sister Jackie said, Sister Francis provides a model for us in this. He went to visit the Muslim Sikh for peace in Egypt exactly 500 years ago and spent days with him talking about finding God and sharing their religious insights. What I love, she said, about the Teo community, it is a way to expand my religious consciousness and embrace all in love. The prayer sessions help me enormously in my busy, sometimes chaotic life. It helps me to sit still in silence and pray. She says, I also love silence. And the Teo community is flexible. Each member develops their own individual spiritual path and practices. One size does not fit all, but rather you work with someone who helps you find the best spiritual habits for your soul's growth. She talks about the many YouTubes that the Spirit has led me to record on YouTube. She talks about the Friend Clara Abbey, Christ's vision for our community in America and here in the UK. A house where 12 monastics will live as hermits and dedicate their life to God for unity and peace within all faiths and in this world. A house of peace, a house of reconciliation, but a house of joy and laughter, where we come together 3 times a day from all faiths, and we sing and we dance to the canticle of the preachers, like the Sufi dervishes, and where we celebrate joy and God's love for us without feeling guilt, and where no dogma or baggage leaves us feeling empty, unloved, but loved. And I also discovered in the message given to the new recruit that we are called by our name. We are given a personal invitation to explore what the heart is given by the universal Christ, who embraces all religions, all children of God. God doesn't stigmatize non-Catholics at the expense of favoring Christians. No. I've come to realize that after celebrating my golden jubilee of vows, being in vows 50 years, that I'm back to square one. I'm the student again. I'm learning so much from our members in the community, from their diverse beliefs and lifestyles. I'm enriched in my spiritual journey with my first love, the Christ. And the beauty of being a member of the Deo community is that I'm encouraged to practice my Catholic Christian faith and nurture the many traditions that the Church holds dear, such as my love of Mother of God and the Rosary, times of private prayer. And if you're not a Catholic, say a Buddhist or a Hindu or a Sikh or a Jew, a Druid, you are encouraged to nurture your own faith belief privately, but to come together like the Essenes 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening, and sing and dance to the canticle of St. Francis, the canticle of the preachers, to be a community of love, to be a community where there is joy, because St. Francis would admonish his early monks who had sour faces. He said, I don't want monks with sour faces. I want you to radiate what God has given you, an invitation to follow him and to be of service to him. So each morning when we begin our day, for me it's very early, we say, I come in my vulnerability as your availability to touch a life. But Lord, I come as I am, and all I ask is that you will show me how may I serve you. And we wait and we sit in silence, in stillness, the best prayer of all. Rather than repeat over and over the same request, we ask only once, and then we start thanking God for having answered our prayer. Modern day monasticism, many are being encouraged by their God or by the Holy Spirit to live this simple life. Not in a monastic community where there are many monks or nuns together, but to live alone or even with their spouses. To live in the world but not of its values. And you can do it. I've done it. I'm doing it. And it frees you up from all the pressures and stressors of living in a real monastic community where you struggle sometimes with indifference, lack of charity, as I did, where you're always being put down, you're not good enough. This new community that Christ and Francis founded 12 years ago is a community celebrating your love affair with God, but your role model is not only Jesus, it is Francis, who had a great love for other beliefs, as he demonstrated to the Sultan. And the Sultan had great respect for Francis, and he spared his life. But to join the community, it's like falling in love with your first love, with your girlfriend or boyfriend. You test the waters, but some jump headfirst in and they end up coming away with egg on their face. The Lord calls you, or whoever your God is, to test the water, to inquire, is this for you? Sister Eleanor, our spiritual abbess in America, shared with me several years ago about this wonderful life story of St. Francis of Assisi called I, Francis by Carl Coletto. Now, I've read many, many books on the life of St. Francis, but this one, you sense Francis speaking to you. And we always encourage new inquirers to read the book and over a 3-month period test the waters if his life story excites them. If they're keen, then we arrange a date for a Skype interview, informal, heart to heart, where We look at the options of how we can walk with them and they walk with us. We arrange a date for them to become a postulant over a 6-month period of training, where we introduce them to the wonderful manuscript from the great Teresa of Avila. And it's called Entering the Castle, Your Soul. Now, though Teresa of Avila was a Catholic nun, a mystic and a great spiritual teacher in the Catholic Church, yet Mother Olivia has trained and taught many in London who are not Christian, women from the Hindu and Sikh traditions who fell in love with these wonderful teachings that empowers the heart and the soul to experience divine intimacy from one's God. And after the 6 months of training, the postulant is asked, how do they feel? Do they feel they'd like to proceed? If any issues come up where there's been problems for them or with their named mentor, these are discussed and resolved from a place of love. And then we invite them, if they're still suitable and want to join, into the novitiate for 12 months to 2 years. And we continue the studies of the 7 mansions of the interior castle. And at the end of that time, they then make a decision whether they would like to pursue and take the 7-fold vows of peace. And they become a professed monastic, where they go into training for 5 years in the Scholastica. And at the end of those 5 years, they're invited to make a commitment for life, as I have. But there's no pressure whatsoever. But the beauty about the manuscript Entering the Castle, the 7 mansions of your soul, it allows you in the first 3 mansions to face your many demons, your skeletons in your cupboard, the many faces and masks we wear, feelings of I'm not good enough, why would God want me, I'm useless, I'm no good. Lots of those negative mindsets are brought to the fore, but we don't dwell on them. We name them, we bless them, and we release them immediately to our God. And then we thank God for the strength to face whatever comes up next. So being a lay monastic, following Francis, and incorporating the Franciscan values with the Beatitudes of Jesus, and the other great teachings of Buddha, Vishnu, Ganesh, Krishna, or whoever your God is, and bringing together that wealth of spiritual knowledge and wisdom, it actually attenuates a positive healing relationship within yourself and with God. So instead of living in fear, you live a life of joy, a life of peace, and you have the freedom to opt out at any time. There's no pressure on you to stay against your will. So the community that Christ and Francis founded is certainly a whole new liberation from the old monastic life, where you left family as I did, and where you didn't see them for 3 years. You live in your own home, and you work it round your own personal family commitments. You do not have to wear a habit. In fact, all we ask is that when you are received as a postulant, you wear a smaller version of the Teo cross, which is the symbol of peace, rooted in the Old Testament Bible by the prophet Ezekiel. But I see the Teo symbol as it is, with your arms outstretched, saying to the God you say you love, here I am, use me, but show me, how may I serve you? So joining the Teo community is not about relinquishing your free will. It's about adding to your free will and giving it a sense of substance and bringing back into your life joy, simplicity, integrity, humility, and listening to your heart. And where when you take the vows of peace, one of them, for me, is the greatest of all 7, is providence, where you enter a contract with your God and your job spec is really good, in that the moment you say, I will, you know intuitively in your soul that your God will provide your needs, not your wants, but your needs. Franciscan spirituality in the modern world is a joy. It's manageable, it's affordable, and it's a continuous daily blessing. But we have to take responsibility for that calling, because God gave us free will to choose. Yes, I will follow you. Or no, not today, Josephine, I'm not interested. But what's so amazing, even if you say, no, it's not for me, and you know in your heart it is, your God will still love you. Now, I'm no plaster cast saint. I have fallen down so many times, even as a young nursing Catholic monk. I was fearful of God because I had an abusive father, and as the eldest son of 9 growing up in Dublin, I copped for all the beatings and the sexual abuse to protect my brothers and sisters. And when I left home at 16 and a half to enter the nursing order, I struggled to feel safe with God the Father. I really did. Because I imagined God in my naivety to be like my real dad, my birth father. And it was through a mental health breakdown 23 years ago, through a side effect of a prescribed antidepressant, to help me deal with the death and dying of my best friend, Brother Eddie. And we'd been monks together for many years. We trained as nurses together. We laughed together, although in different parts of the country. The community would never keep us in the same house because we caused ructions with laughter in chapel. We were 2 giddy kippers, and that was our safety outlet to get rid of all the tension and stress of living such a strict life. But when Eddie died, age 42 of cancer, and I had the privilege of laying him out and preparing him for his burial, 3 months later, I crashed mentally, and there's me caring for the dying as a senior nurse in palliative care. I couldn't cope. I was stubborn. I found it difficult to ask for help as a nurse because I had it ingrained in me, like I did as a young Catholic monk. When you struggled and suffered, offer it up for sinners. And then my GP said, this'll do you good, Sean. Oh, it did. It introduced me to bipolar, which I live with every day. But from that breakdown where I lost everything, my health, my freedom, my job, my home, I had a breakthrough. And over 4 years, the Lord showed me how to walk again, but from a different mindset, free of guilt and fear. And to fall in love with my first love, who was Christ. And to this very day, though I'm older now, I've had my 70 years and 10 and coming into my 71st year, I cannot thank God enough for the good that came out of that deeply painful, unpleasant experience of coping with a complete breakdown. I really do thank God. that God had a plan for me when I felt I was so useless and unworthy. And now I sit before you with this camera, probably rabbiting on too much, but I want to give you words of hope. If you feel in your heart a sense of committing your life to God without all the religiosity and the dogma and the fear, but just want to live that simple life, but be part of a loving spiritual community who love Francis and who embrace God in the animal kingdom, in the trees, the plants, the flowers, the aromas, the sunrises and sunsets. That's where Francis found his God. In everything that lived, moved and breathed. That's where my God is, here in the monastery garden, not in an ornate church building. My God is alive and well in the monastery, but around it, in the gardens. But if you wish to retreat to that special place and still live in the world, but not of it, in other words, you don't engage with all its dramas and fears, but that you can still nurture that love affair with your God, then why not come and join us and share with us your wisdom, your values, and together do something magnanimous for a God of love. And take the words of God to your heart. Look at my brothers and sisters. See how they love one another. So Christ and Francis' blueprint of uniting brothers and sisters of different colors, creed, ethnicity, gender orientation, disability, and age to come together to break bread in friendship where there is no fear, where there is no hidden agenda, and where you don't have to convert to another belief whilst compromising your own faith. What a joy. The freedom one can't express to you, the freedom I feel in my heart, that I'm free. Every day is a joy. It's a bonus. And today is the miracle. Yesterday's history, tomorrow's mystery. Today is the miracle, where whatever we say or do, whatever tasks we have to do, whether it's washing the pots after the meal, sweeping the floor, brushing the dogs, walking the dogs, feeding the parrot, whatever, it's all a prayer because it's done out of love. And it's done because we know we're loved. Now you can access the Teo community by going to its website. It's not all singing, dancing, but we are hoping that some of our members will share a little bit about themselves and what drew them to Teo and why they're still in the Teo community. But that's ongoing. The community web address is Teo, T-A-U, community.com. Or Google Interfaith Franciscans. Let us pray. Let us be still. O Father, Mother God, you have many names and none, but still the one true loving God. I ask you to touch the heart of those who will watch this video, and I pray that they come to the content with an open heart and an open mind, and that they will sense you present in what you've guided me to share. Because all that I've shared, Lord, is from a heart that loves you. I ask you to bless, protect, and strengthen those who may be seeking an alternative way of living in service to you where it's not all about religion, it's about embracing your gift of spirituality, which is finding you, like Francis, in everything that lives, moves, and breathes on this sacred earth. Amen. And thank you for putting up with an old monk, sharing with you about modern day lay monasticism in the Teo community of Interfaith Franciscans, founded by Christ and Francis for all children of God, of all faiths. How wonderful. Go in peace to love and to serve whoever your God is. Namaste, Shalom, Inshallah Paxet Bonum, OmShanti, Solo di Caritas, Salam Alaikum, and may the peace and the love and the joy that you may have sensed here in this short webinar, may it inspire you to go forward and to listen only to one voice, to the voice of the beloved. Speak to your heart, not to your false self or your ego that forever puts us down and makes us feel unworthy of God's love. Those negative voices are not of God. I have a name for the source, which is the Antichrist. God bless you and thank you for giving up your valuable time. And may your God bless you and your loved ones. And hopefully one day we will meet up, if not on this earth plane, then in the gardens of celebration. Amen.